Hi there, Chris here, and this video I want to talk about burnout and combating burnout. I've been asked this question many times as far as, Chris, how do I combat burnout? So in the sense of everybody out there who's probably watching this, as far as miniature painting, wargaming, and everything that is concerned, staving off burnout, trying to get your armies done. Now, I've been asked this question many times on Way of the Brush, and I'm happy to answer it many more times. But I figured I might as well just make a video, explaining it and, kind of how I remedy it. So basically, burnout being, when you are working through a whole bunch of models, you've got different armies on the go, and you just, you have so many projects. Maybe you're a commissioned painter and you have a whole bunch of deadlines and you got a bunch of projects going on, and you know what I mean? And so you just feel the weight of all these things bearing down on you, and what do? How do you combat? How do you reinvigorate yourself to get your projects done? Well, there's a few things I often recommend. One, oftentimes when we're feeling these outside pressure, it's often because we have external things going on, be it family, work, school, all these other factors that have nothing to do with our wargaming, because wargaming, this hobby, is a hobby, right? For like 99% of you out there, this is a hobby. So this is a time that you should be stopping and enjoying yourself. This is the time where you can sit down, paint your models, game, assemble, whatever it is about this hobby that you really enjoy, reading, all these different aspects. And this is the personal time. This is the time that when you're dealing with the outside things, that you can kind of recharge and go back to dealing with life's issues. Oftentimes I have found that if we are kind of avoiding these other things, these family, work, what have you, that's when we kind of run into a bit of a problem, because those things that you're putting off are going to weigh heavily on your brain, and you're not going to be able to sit down and enjoy your hobby. So if you have other things going on in your life that need to be taken care of, you definitely should be taking care of them. One of the other factors that I often find helps combat burnout is, we're taking care of all these other things. The next thing being models. We have a whole bunch of models. Now, I often recommend, do not have all your assembled projects in front of you on your workspace. Clear off your workspace from whatever projects you got to go. If you got a whole 500 Space Marines to do, I often throw that Space Marine thing out there all the time, but you've got a whole bunch of these models to do, and the weight of that is bearing down on you. It's like, oh, I got this, and I don't want to, all these feelings come up, and you just kind of, you don't feel it. And that's in part the burnout part. So often I recommend is don't have all your projects in front of you. Work on a squad, then work on a character, then work on a squad, then work on a tank, work on a squad. And as you complete a project, put it out of sight. Grab another project, work on it. Me personally, I can't really do a whole bunch of squads at once, even like a squad of 10 guys. That can kind of turn me off. Sometimes I usually only work maybe 5 guys at a time, 5 models at a time. Sometimes it's only 2 or 3. It just all depends on the project. It all depends on what level I want to paint them to. If you are going for better than, like a higher tabletop standard, you got to put more effort into them. And, so if you've got a whole bunch of projects, and of course, if you're a commissioned painter as well, having all these projects, having the deadline bearing down, and then of course you got to explain to everybody why projects aren't done. And again, it's just, it's a huge headache. And so you're best just kind of sitting down and just concentrating on chunk by chunk kind of thing, and just concentrate it on that fashion. The final thing that I often recommend for combating burnout is take on a project that's outside the norm. So, for example, if you're an avid, war gamer and you do a lot of, Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, whatever, and you're collecting large amounts of models, take a break from those models. Maybe work on models from another company. Maybe work on a sculpture from a one-off company, a kind of garage kit, as it were, and maybe you can get like a bust or like a 1/6 statue or what have you. In the spirit of listening to my own advice, not that I'm really fighting the burnout right now, but in the spirit of listening to my own advice, I've recently bought myself a kit. In the last episode of Way of the Brush, episode 280. Near the end of it, I talk about, I wanted to pick up something that's kind of outside the norm, and I haven't done it in a long time. Now, when I started in this hobby, I was an avid model builder, and then, of course, I got into the wargaming aspect because the universe and everything, as I was reading things, and I really got into it. So, to go back to the roots, as it were, I've picked up a model. So, I picked myself up a Tamiya M41 tank, World War II. Or late World War II, I think. Maybe it's Korean War. I can't remember. And in the coming days and weeks, I'm going to work on this kit. I'm thinking I might even do a diorama, something else that I have not done in a long time. So I'm really fired up to take on this kind of project because there's no commitments. There's no obligations. It's just straight up for my own enjoyment. Now, I might film some of the stuff that I'm doing because, as a content creator, I might film here and there. I might do something about the weathering. Who knows? Who knows? So hopefully this does do the trick and reinvigorate my enthusiasm for creating and painting and and of course filming videos and such. I decided to pick up a kit. This is a Tamiya. I'm very familiar with Tamiya products. I like their models, and it was kind of a no-brainer. I just stopped at a local hobby shop and they were selling these. This was like dirt cheap. This was like less than $20, and it's just something to pick up and do. And so I'm really looking forward to this doing this kit. So hopefully this kind of helps some of you out there as far as you've been feeling kind of that painting burnout. Hopefully this kind of reinvigorates your imagination and, maybe it helps guide you through what you got to take care of so that you can kind of keep pressing through your projects, especially if you're a commissioned painting artist or, you are just taking on projects for a friend, or you just want to really get your projects done so that you can take place in that tournament, or you want to go whatever reasons you have, or you just want to sit down and enjoy yourself. Hopefully this was helpful. I get this question a lot. Now I have kind of a one-off kind of answer here. This is the usual response I give to people when they ask me, how do I combat burnout? It's definitely one of these, it's definitely one of those things that will often kind of reinvigorate. There are a few others, like I've often recommended, basically, when you kind of clean up your work area, I've often recommended that one, as well as far as, getting the pilot light relit. Another one being watching a movie that was something that was dear to you when you were younger, or, what have you, and kind of got you into this whole universe of fantasy or sci-fi or whatever it was. And maybe sit down and watch one of those kind of, one of those things to kind of, relight the fire, as it were. Hopefully that helps. Huge thank you to all my patrons for making these videos possible. Without their support, it just wouldn't happen. Huge thank you. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below. There are many tiers to support at. A huge thank you to everybody else out there. And of course, if you're enjoying these kinds of videos, let me know down below as far as how you combat burnout as well. And of course, let me know if you guys enjoy these kinds of videos. If you want to see more of these kinds of videos, I do produce painting tutorials as well as the Way of the Brush show that I do every Saturday, live at noon Eastern Standard Time. So take care of them brushes, and they will take care of you.